All right, guys. So I'm going to give you guys a brief overview of the English assignment for this week. I will also briefly talk about the reading assignment as well. But the English and reading assignments for this week are going to be your last and final grades for quarter four. So let's make sure that we end on a high note. So, much in the same vein as the last few weeks, we are going to be dividing these into part one and part two only for English. So, for part one, I want you to brainstorm ideas for your persuasive letter and using ethos, pathos, and logos to make a compelling argument. So, your prompt will be on the following slide. So, last week, you wrote a persuasive letter to your parents. This week, you will brainstorm ways you would like to see a change made institutionally. Is there a rule or law that you would like to see changed at the school level, city level, state level, and or national level? So I want you to think about things that you either disagree with or rules, policies, laws that you either disagree with or could be fixed or done in a better way. Your task will be to write a formal letter to one of the following people about a rule or a law you would like to see changed. If you're going to talk about a rule or a policy at school, then you want to address your letter to Mr. Kirby, who is the academic director of Uplift Luna. If you would like to see a law changed at the state level, then you would want to address your letter to Governor Abbott, who is the current governor of Texas. And if you would like to talk about a law that affects the whole nation, then please address your letter to President Trump. In addition, you will need to use ethos and pathos and logos to make a compelling argument. You will need to incorporate all three of those into your letter. The biggest problem I'm seeing with ethos is a lot of you guys are missing the fact that ethos is about you. It is about you, the speaker, or you, the writer. If you are giving a speech, then it is you, the speaker. If you are writing it, like you are this week, it is you, the writer. So, what aspects of your character, reputation, personality, age, etc., make you credible? Why should your reader listen to you? So, since your audience or the people that you are writing the letter to are all adults and in a higher position than yourself, you need to make sure that the ethos is why should I listen to you? Why should the president or the governor or the principal, why should they listen to you? Okay. So you want to draw on your character, your reputation, your personality, something about yourself that is going to make you credible to talk about what you are talking about. Pathos is using strong or emotional words to persuade. So those are going to be words that people are going to have an emotional connection to. So words like hope, love, perseverance, freedom, words that we've been talking about with Emma Watson's speech and with Frederick Douglass's speech, words that people are going to connect with. And lastly, logos, using a fact, statistic, data to persuade. FYI, just saying the word fact does not make something a fact. So what I've noticed is that through your assignments from last week, a lot of you guys are saying it's a fact that all teenagers hate school dress codes. Okay. That is not a fact. That is your opinion, and you are just calling it a fact. Okay. So please make sure that if you want full credit for logos, that you are actually researching a fact, a statistic, a piece of data. So you will need to be pulling something from the internet. Keep in mind when you are writing a formal letter, you have to have the following, or the first two for sure, in a formal letter. Number one, you have to have respectful language. Even if you disagree with the policies, your tone should still be respectful and formal. The difference between formal and informal language are the following. Informal language is typically how you talk to somebody on the same level as yourself. So this is how you talk to a peer or a friend. That is it. You should always use formal language when you are talking to an adult or somebody in a higher position of authority than yourself. A formal letter should also have good vocabulary. Please use synonyms and correct grammar and spelling. You will not be taken seriously if you cannot capitalize the letter I or you use the wrong form of there. So please make sure that you are double checking your spelling and grammar so that you can be taken seriously. And lastly, you need a piece of research to support your stance, or you need logos. So please make sure that you are researching statistics, data about your topic. So, for example, if you are seeking to change the uniform policy at Luna, maybe it might be helpful to go and research the amount of schools in the nation that have dress codes, or sorry, that use uniforms, and whether those other schools are successful. If you want to talk about gun laws or immigration policies or driving ages or whatever you are seeking to compel your audience to change, make sure that you are researching that topic. And lastly, a couple of resources that you might find helpful. If you are struggling to think of something at the state or national level, think about school first, something that you disagree with or that you would like to change. Examples could be shorter classes, no uniforms, later start time, classes every day instead of every other day, things like that. Lastly, you can read Greta Thunberg's short speech to the United Nations. She uses ethos, pathos, and logos very well, and you could read the whole thing in probably under 5 minutes. And part 2. This is where you're going to complete and submit this persuasive formal letter. Again, this is your last and final grade for English in quarter 4. It's going to look very similar to the formal letter from last week or that you addressed to your parents. The only difference being is that I've upped the word count from 250 to 300 because you are going to have to include a piece of research or a piece of data, so it needs to be a little bit longer. Furthermore, you are also using formal language and should also be a little bit more extensive. Remember, people do not enact change by speaking or writing poorly, so formal and respectful language is important. Be sure to clearly state what policy or law you disagree with and why it needs to be changed. So that is all for English. I'm going to pop over and talk about reading very briefly. Reading is going to be very easy. For the most part, I'm just going to be gathering your thoughts and opinions and reflections for the year. So first, part 1, you're going to do 15 minutes of Read 15, as you should be doing every week. And part 2 will be to complete the week 4 assessment via Google Forms. And again, it's going to go through some multiple choice, some short answers, some paragraph length questions about text from this year, about your current book. So please make sure you are completing these as specifically as possible. If you follow all instructions on the English and the reading assessment, you will get a 100. That is it. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to text me via Remind or send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to help.